Key Biscayneers, Key Rats, welcome to another episode of Key Biscayne Stories, where neighbors meet neighbors. Today we have Oscar Sardinas. He's the founder and president of the Key Biscayne Children and Education Foundation. We're here to learn all about the foundation and what they do. Remember, if you like the show, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Instagram. It'll be awesome. Oscar, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Alejandro. I'm doing very well. Thank you. As I was mentioning before offline, coming off a great week, had an opportunity to visit a school in Little Haiti called Hibiscus Elementary. The foundation was very fortunate to have the opportunity to donate a few things that allowed them to create a carnival that was a Children's Appreciation Day. So off the heels of the Teacher Appreciation Week, which is Miami-Dade County Public School all around, this principal felt that it was a good idea to have an appreciation day for the kids. And so she created a carnival. The foundation was lucky enough to be able to donate a few machines, one of them being a snow cone machine, a cotton candy machine, and a popcorn machine. And I served about 250 snow cones. And it was so uplifting. Honestly, I mentioned to you offline, I'm going to go out on the limb here. I am a little bit of a crier. And so for me, it was having to wear my sunglasses the whole time because I had these wonderful little kids full of life, coming up to us and hugging us and thanking us and just being so grateful for the little that we were able to do. And it was an entire day of dance. They had a DJ there that had graduated from that elementary school many years prior, who had given up his time to be there. You had about 450 kids, and they were just dancing, having a great time. They had games. Like I said, they had cotton candy, the popcorn, and it was an incredibly uplifting experience. And it's amazing, these administrators and these teachers that give their life up for these kids, and they work so hard, and it's such a labor of love. I think I mentioned it to you before. Even when I just arrived, I was coming from the parking lot to the school, and they were completing the morning announcements, and the words of gratitude, of kindness, of motivation, letting these kids know that they're loved and appreciated, and each one of them is unique, and that they can basically do anything they could put their little minds to, was such an amazing way to start my day. It was fantastic, and I'm still reeling from it. And this was 4 days ago, and I've been walking on clouds ever since. And I'm just very humbled that we were able to help out. And I realize that there's so much more that we can do, and it takes very little. And so, yeah, long answer to a short question, but I'm doing great. Thank you very much. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Doing
Yeah.
good. It's always good when we have opportunities to serve like that. So I'm glad that you were able to have that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's dive right in. The
All
Key
right.
Biscayne Children Education Foundation. What
So-
is the foundation?
So this is a 501c3. I have to admit, it wasn't necessarily my brainchild. It was actually a model I saw in a different school. In the early years of my daughter's life, we lived on Miami Beach, and she attended North Beach Elementary, where they have a 501c3 that works in unison with the PTA to raise funds for the school. And they created an after-school enrichment program, and we kind of emulated that. And what that is it's a series of curriculum and classes, vocational style classes, where children can learn skills, anywhere from cheerleading to coding to dance to languages, Italian, French, German, you name it. We can pretty much create any kind of curriculum around that. And the idea is threefold. Number one is to give these kids to augment their daily curriculums through the Miami-Dade County Public School System in a safe place, which is at their own location in their school. And then to allow them to pick and choose different vocational sets of skills that they can kind of jump into and learn. And these are taught generally by teachers from that same school. So the first part being for the kids, the second part really being for the teachers, to allow them the opportunity to continue working in a safe environment in their same school and earn ancillary income above and beyond what they currently make in their profession. And I think we'll all agree that teachers are incredibly important and involved in the very most formidable years of any child's life. And so many would probably argue and agree that they just don't get paid what they're worth and the value that they bring. And so we saw it as an opportunity to help them. And some of these teachers can make almost as much as they do an entire day working for the school system in just a couple of hours with the foundation. And then third, of course, is to give parents a bit of reprieve as opposed to daycare, which is just, a bunch of kids in a room just getting babysat. They know that their children are learning something new, a new skill that might turn into something extraordinary in their lives during their formidable years, and allow them to establish these skill sets through a period of after school enrichment programming. And the programming is interesting because we really can put together just about any kind of curriculum. I think I mentioned it to you once before that while we were building our first curriculum, we had parents asking us, hey, would you be willing to do cheerleading, for example? And that was something that I was not on my radar. I had never seen cheerleading on Key Biscayne before. And ironically enough, during our proof of concept first semester, it was the first class that sold out. And selfishly for me, to walk out and see this curriculum and watch these 5 and 6 year olds with their pom-poms and learning and just laughing and smiling, it's the cutest thing ever. I mean, I would challenge anybody to go out there and watch it without a giant smile from ear to ear. And so we created this 501c3 to focus on a curriculum, to execute it after school hours. Generally, the idea was between the hours of 2 p.m. when the young kids get out of school till 5 p.m., giving parents a full day of their kids being taken care of in a safe place. And then the idea then is that we partner with our instructors, and it's a paid service. The revenue that we collect, we partner with our instructors, so a good percentage of that goes to pay the instructors. There's a very small overhead because myself, along with my 2 fellow board members, we're volunteers. We make nothing from this. And then we have some staff, and that staff is supports the students and the instructors, making sure that the kids can have a water break, make sure they have time for snacks, take them from one class to the other, make sure that they're in a safe environment. And then everything that's left over, the idea is then to donate it to the local school, with the premise and the goal of funding what we call a paraprofessional program. And what that is effectively funding staffing so that we can staff every classroom with an assistant teacher. And so the impact there is incredible because today and day, your average classroom size is about 22 to 23 students per teacher. And so in a world where these teachers are tasked not only to get to know their students, find out who they are, most importantly, find out the methods in which they learn the best, because we're all different. We all learn very differently. There is no cookie cutter education system that works for everybody. And so you not only have to learn the kid's names, where they come from, be a supportive person, a person that they can look up to and admire and listen to, but then find how they learn and then effectively tweak your curriculum that is very cookie cutter in a way that reaches every child. And what we found happens is that the top producing kids get a lot of attention. The lower producing kids get some attention, but generally the kids kind of in the middle row don't get a lot of that attention. And so what you have is it's a very difficult task for these teachers. Now, you now add a second teacher to that classroom and you're cutting the ratio now in half, where you could potentially now have a teacher with 11 students. And so that creates the opportunity to really take a little bit more time, be a little bit more present, work a little bit better with each child. And the saying that we use a lot is making sure that no child is left behind, and ensuring that we create a good baseline and that we always strive to exceed that baseline. And so that's kind of the plan. And that was the original motive and the original plan. Now, if you talk about personal motives for me, I've always had an incredible love for people or faith in people. I think we can do extraordinary things when given the opportunity. And in a world where, there are a lot of bad things going on, I fully believe that at the core, the majority of us are good and we really want to be a part of something special. Number 2, I have 2 daughters, a 9 and a 6-year-old. And if you were to ask me, Alejandro, what I ever wanted to be growing up, it's always been the absolute best dad I could be. And a lot of that comes from what my parents did for me and the incredible example they were. And here I am with an opportunity to be a great model for my kids, a role model. And really the message being that any one person can make a difference. But obviously we're always better together, right? And so luckily I had the very fortunate opportunity to partner with two incredibly extraordinary people that have given back to their own communities in their own right and now live here on Key Biscayne. One of them being Ivette Chaustre-Fernandez, which is my vice president and my right hand, and Pierre DeAgostini, which is a gentleman who I met very serendipitously. It was at a moment that I had just moved back to the island. I jumped into a committee. I was voted into a committee called the Educational Excellence Advisory Committee. I was voted in by parents at the community school K through 8, Key Biscayne Community School K through 8 Center. And one day we were chatting in one of the meetings, and I noticed that this new parent that was part of the committee was asking a lot of very poignant questions about the budget, about where the money is going, how are we supporting these kids, asking questions about their development, and I was intrigued. And so fast forward, I asked him if he would like to have coffee with me after. And we sat down at Artisan and we had a nice long conversation, and incredibly serendipitously, and you can't make this up. As I'm telling him about my dream of creating this 501c3 dedicated to after school enrichments to donate money and for this paraprofessional program, you know, he starts looking at me with a strange face. And I, as a direct guy that I am, I asked him, you know, what's going on, Pierre? Did I say something funny? And he says, you know, Oscar, you're telling me about this model, and I don't know how to say this. I almost feel like this is a joke or something, but have you heard of North Beach Elementary? And I said, yeah, absolutely. This is where I saw the model. He's like, well, I was one of the forefathers of that board. I was one of the first people on that board and helped to create that model. Furthermore, I went on to help create a very similar model in South Beach. South Beach, I think it's called South Point Elementary School. And I thought at first I was very skeptical, even though I'm a very trusting person, and immediately asked him for a selfie. And he laughed and said, are you checking on me? And I said, yeah. And I sent the selfie to the, at that time, president of Friends of North Beach, which is the 501c3 in North Beach. And she responded saying to me, you know, Oscar, in this year and a half that you and I have been engaging, because I've been looking to her for guidance, this is the gentleman that I've been wanting for you to meet all of this time. He would be an incredible advocate if you can convince him, because he has done this before. And he has worked a lot, but if you can convince him to give just a little bit more, then I would grab him, make him part of your team, and go for it. And Pierre looked at me and he said, I would be more than happy to help. I have the IP, and furthermore, I see a very passionate person in you, and I would be honored to join. Very shortly thereafter, I approached my very good friend Ivette, whom has worked as an interventionist and speech therapist for children for, I would say, I'll probably get this wrong, but over 15 years, and worked in the school, is very well known in the community. And I came to her with this idea, and she looked at, I think what was the convincing factor for her was the fact that I now had somebody that had some credibility, somebody that had done this before, because at the end of the day, what did I know about this other than my passion to do it? And she jumped in full force, and she has been my right hand since day one. And we've been incredibly successful. You know, to go a little bit into the timeline, we launched a proof of concept, I believe it was March of 2020. We received close to 360 registrations in about a week's time, raising almost $40,000 in revenue. And this was even before we got started, before anyone even knew who we were. Fortunately or unfortunately, because there's silver linings in every story, the pandemic came right in that moment, and Miami-Dade County Public Schools, who I already had a partnership with, canceled all partnerships and disallowed any outside organizations to work in the school because of COVID. And we were stuck in a really tough place. We had done all this work. We were ready to go. We had money from all these parents. We were ready to launch, and now we couldn't. And so here was a very big crossroad where we could choose to quit, and nobody would have blamed us. We could have returned every dollar to every parent. We immediately sent a mass email out to all the parents saying, while our policy is very strict on refunds, we generally give credits to be used for more enrichment in the future. We said, given the circumstances, we would like to offer this money back to the parents. And Alejandro, 15% or less of those parents requested that refund. Everybody else basically said, no, Oscar, we believe in the foundation. We believe in your team. You're going to find a way, keep our money, because we don't want to lose out on classes that we know you're going to come back with. Because during our proof of concept, our classes were selling out. There were many people left out on waiting lists, not being able to come into the foundation. And so we took that on as a huge motivator to just think outside the box. And so we started looking at our curriculum. We started thinking, this is COVID. Parents want their kids outside because they're stuck indoors all day, now doing learning at home. They need their kids to exercise, expend energy, to be worn out, and to have an opportunity to engage with each other. And we said, what is that? Where does that work the most? It's outside. We saw the green. We looked at it. Ivette had a very good relationship with the Parks and Rec director, Todd. We called him and we said, hey, man, this program we've been telling you about, we're thinking about doing outside. What is that going to take? And he said, well, what are the hours? We said 2 to 5. Well, at 5, it's tough because at 4 o'clock, the Key Biscayne Soccer Club has most of the field, but we could do 2 to 4. And it's a small marginal permit fee. And we said, we're all in. We went back to the parents and we said, look, we're reducing the curriculum because there were a lot of classes in the curriculum that require classrooms for, speech, for math, for things like languages. And so we minimized the curriculum to be mostly sports, but we did have chess. We had tutoring. We had art, all in the pavilion in the green. And then the rest was outside, and we had soccer and flag football and cheerleading and dance and ballet and gymnastics and parkour and circus school, which is aerial acrobatics. I mean, we had it all, and we launched it. And, the remainder of the 85% of the people that had signed up all found something else in the classes that they liked, and we launched. And fast forward that semester, which was a 9-week semester, and the following 9-week semester, just from those 2 semesters, we were able to donate $17,000 to the school. And then following that, we increased our semester to an 18-week. And I'm estimating that we'll be able to now, we've been operating 2 short semesters of 9 weeks, 1 18-week semester, and I'm hoping we'll be able to donate another 20+ thousand to the school. And it's been incredibly fulfilling, outside of giving teachers ancillary work, outside of finding something fun for these kids to do, outside of giving parents the opportunity to go back to regular work hours that their children are well taken care of to a certain time of the day, 4 p.m. plus, outside of giving local parents job opportunities that don't necessarily work or whatnot, and something very fulfilling to them. It has been an incredibly fulfilling thing just to go. I mean, and I invite you, Alejandro, or anybody to go out at any given day during the school year and just watch these kids and how much they're having, what a great time they're having. And it's been incredibly fulfilling. And so, again, another long answer to a short question, but that in a nutshell is the foundation and what we want to continue to do. And we have huge plans. I mean, this could be huge, and it doesn't have to be just, as a matter of fact, part of the proceeds that we make, we reserve 10% of those funds with the idea of creating scholarship programs to offer the same after-school curriculum to schools in lower income communities, like, for instance, Hibiscus Elementary, where we can now you can have now a group of 30 kids taking coding classes that kids from our island are also taking, and we send the teachers there, and that's really the idea, and hopefully to take this model and copy paste it in other schools that could probably use a little help. When I think about the idea of cutting the ratio in half for students and kids, that opens up an entire new world for what kids are going to be, for setting them up for success, really, and no child being left behind. So yeah.
Tell me about the teacher assistants, the assistant teachers. I know that after the pandemic, there's been a slow rollout of the opening of the schools and allowing other stuff like libraries and other services slowly are coming back.
Yeah.
And since one of your goals is to get assistant teachers back into the school, where are you in that?
So at the moment, we're still operating at the field. I am in the last phase of reestablishing the foundation's partnership agreement with Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
Got it.
Once that happens, I'm handed a contract. The administration of the schools handed the same contract. We look through it. We make sure it's mutually beneficial for everybody. And the administration will have the last say of whether or not they allow the foundation to operate within the school grounds.
Because the teachers are from the foundation, the assistant teachers.
Well, so our instructors currently, we have hired maybe 2 or 3 teachers that are actual teachers in the school. The idea is because we want to remain local, we always want to give teachers from the K-8 first right of refusal or first opportunity to then work for the foundation after hours.
Okay.
So they work till 3 p.m., but we can operate till 5 or even 6 p.m. So the idea is you're an English teacher by day at the elementary school. The day ends at 3. Now you walk over to another classroom, and now you're an employee or a partner or a independent contractor of the foundation. And now you're teaching reading, to give an example, or art, or chess, or whatever it is your aptitude or skill is. The idea then is with the revenues that we get from this paid service, we collect this money, then go back to the school and say, administration, this principal, we have, let's call it $50,000 we'd like to donate to you. This is totally up to the principal on where she wants to use those funds. But what we're hopeful for is that we come together as a partnership to agree that we feel that a good way to spend this would be in additional staffing.
Got it.
So that we can put assistant teachers in each classroom. And one of our biggest fans and proponents was Sylvia Tarafa in her time with the K-8 when we did our proof of concept. She actually took it a step further. And when we talked to her about the idea, she pulled aside a resource she had to help her build a business model that would define exactly how much money it would take to fund a full paraprofessional program, which translates into having an assistant teacher at minimum per grade for every grade from kindergarten to 5th grade, and with the ideal aspiration of being able to fund a single assistant teacher for every classroom from kindergarten to 5th grade. And if you look at education, the most formidable years are really pre-K to 3rd. That's when children develop their ability or their formation of how they're going to learn, how they're going to disseminate information and move on. Plus, they build their confidence level, which will stay with them for the rest of their lives. And so if you're now with one teacher and there's only 11 of you, and you have that kind of presence from the teacher and that kind of engagement, your confidence is going to grow exponentially over a child that is fighting with 21 other children for the attention of a teacher, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. And I like it because it's all funded via the after school programs that parents pay for.
Yeah, this is a paid program, and in pricing, we tried to remain very fair and affordable. We actually used the pricing structure as a model that they use at the Key Biscayne Community Center to kind of see what parents are used to paying for certain services. And we tried to keep it just as low or just underneath. And funny enough, another interesting story is when we first came aboard, our first thought was, let's talk to the community leaders to make sure that we're not stepping on someone's toes. We wanted to be a supplement, not take anyone on. And so one of the concerns was the programming at the community center today. And so when we approached the village about that, and we said, look, guys, we're planning to do this enrichment program from 2 to 5. But we were conscious that you also have curriculums that might match or overlap with ours. And we wanted to make sure you're okay with that. And the resounding response, which is very, I didn't even think of it this way, was, Oscar, let me get this straight. So between the hours of 2 and 5 today, we have about 250 kids that come swarming into this building that have no particular programming set up for them, that basically destroy this place. They go nuts. And we don't have the resources to keep them all in check and make sure that they're engaged. And what you're telling me is you're going to create a program where potentially those 250 kids are not going to come in here at that time, and that they're going to be well engaged in really nice built out curriculums. And then they're going to come here. Plus our program at the community center doesn't really start until 5 p.m. So what you're saying is they're going to come from yours to then ours. So we're not really going to lose any revenue for the community center or anything like that. But what we are going to do is be able to use that time to maybe maintain the community center and maybe get a little bit less wear and tear. Because we all know at this point that a community center that many years ago was very highly contested has now become a place that's too small, right? And so they welcomed it. And they said, more power to you, buddy. What can we do to help? And so I learned a lot throughout this process, because in my mind, when I first started, not knowing, my single focus was curriculum for the kids. The derivatives that came out of it, which was ancillary income for teachers, reprieve for the parents, money for the school, and then reprieve for the community center in the village, those were all things that I found throughout the process in our chief learnings, our best practice learnings. And so we realized, man, there is a demand for this. And then on top of that, our proof of concept, we had almost 340 or 360, whatever I said, registrations, which told me right away, man, there is a demand for what we're doing. So we can't step away from this any longer. We got to go forward. And it's been incredibly successful.
Tell me about summer. I know you have a vast combination of summer camp options coming up, yes. Right? That's exciting.
Yes, it is. And truth be told, it's been a little bit more of a challenge than we anticipated.
Okay.
There are a lot of summer options on Key Biscayne. Number one. Number two, I'm finding from a lot of parents that have been loyal to us for a very long time, who have reached back out to me to say, Oscar, we definitely want to use your programming. The problem is we haven't traveled in 2 years. We want to get the heck out of here. And we're going to be gone all summer. And I can't tell you, if I were to say 30% or 40% of the parents that are with us today have told me that, it'd probably be too little. And so while yes, at the moment we do have a summer program, what I love about it is that it's a different theme every week. It runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's fairly priced, in my opinion, as well, also using the different models on Key Biscayne as models. It's going to be running out of the Calusa Park, but we've also partnered with people like Minds of Tomorrow, which does the coding and robotics. So we walk the kids over there. We've partnered with the village to use the village green as well for parts, for like using the little splash, water splash area and the jungle gyms. And it runs for 7 weeks, but you can sign up for 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, or all 7 weeks. It's completely up to you. The registration is open right now. We actually just put an ad in the Island newspaper offering, just to give back to the community a little bit further. We offered a 15% coupon for anybody that uses it. And registration is going to remain open through to the 6th or 7th of June. And I believe the programming starts sometime on the 15th or 18th of June. Okay. Now, if obviously, if we don't get enough registrations, we may have to scrap the program. But, we're still very hopeful that a lot of people on the Key tend to wait till the last minute. And so,
I was going to say, yeah,
we're known for it. It's actually been something that's been a challenge for our current administration at the elementary school, where enrollment tends to drop and people don't enroll until the last moment, and that has a budgetary effect on how much budget the school gets. But we're still hopeful, and we think some parents are going to come back with us. And the other thing is to get the word out, right? We don't we try to minimize our expenditures so that we can maximize the amount of donations. And so we use really grassroots types of things. We did put it out in the Islander newspaper. We have a great relationship with them. They've been great covering our foundation. And then we use our Instagram page. We use our website. I think I had shared with you a link where I'm happy for you to share that with your audience as well. But yeah, it's a great program. And then the idea there is the revenues from the summer camp we were planning on using to help fund or subsidize summer intervention programs, which are focused on reading and math literacy for children who have fallen behind in what we would call arguably the toughest time in our history to be a student, because you're forced to learn online, and that's not easy. And so what we found is that children across the board, across the region, have really fallen behind in reading and math. And so what we'd like to do is have a couple hours at the community center every day, Monday through Thursday, actually, throughout the summer, where parents can bring their kids and get reading and math tutoring to get them back to a baseline so that they can start the next school year back at a really positive place. And so that is really our goal. And the reason we're going to subsidize it is because some kids need it more than others. And so when you look at 7 weeks of intervention, it can get very costly. And so what we've told our parents is anybody who registers for summer camp will subsidize, let's say a percentage, maybe half of it. For those who are not registered, we can subsidize up to 20% of it. And that'll be our donation to help pay for the teachers that are going to be running the courses.
Okay. Sounds cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Sounds good. I like it.
I think so.
So I know that we are running out of time, but we need to get to know you a little bit as well. So Oscar, what brought you to the Key? How's that story?
So I was born in Boston from Cuban Bolivian parents. I moved down to Miami, South Miami, when I was 5 years old. I lived there till I was about 13. And I was introduced to Key Biscayne over 2 glorious summers that I was invited by neighbors where we lived that spend the summers here. And after those 2 summers, I went home telling my parents, "Hey man, guys, you have no idea where I just came from." And so my father, always being a very good listener and always wanting to give for his kids, ends up purchasing as a surprise a investment property on Key Biscayne that we would use just for the summers. Mind you, we were 5, right? I'm the oldest of 3 men. And he got a 2-bedroom apartment, and he has prefaced it by saying, "Look, guys, this is just for the summer. And then we're going back home and we're renting it. And every summer we could spend here." We said, "Okay, great." We spend the first summer here, glorious summer, had more freedom than we've ever had in our lives. My parents had a valet parker at that time because we lived in a lanai on the first floor. You could drive the car right up there. So they'd come home, park the car, I'd come out and then park the car for them. So they were loving it. And at the end of that first summer, my parents said, "Oh, guys, they knew what they were doing. They fell in love with this place even more than we did. And they said, boys, we could go back home and live in our big house with all your friends and each have your own room and your space, et cetera, et cetera." And me and my brothers were just looking at them like, "Or what's the other option?" And the other option is we stay here, but we're staying in this 2-bedroom and you guys got to share a room and it's pretty tight. And yeah, you got to start a new school. You can no longer go to Belen because Belen was so far for us. You're going to have to go to a public school now. And it's like, I didn't hear any of that. All I heard was, "We're staying." And we stayed. And if you ask me, Alejandro, I truly believe it changed the trajectory of my life. We have forks in our roads our entire lives, and this was a big one. And the amount of gratitude that I have for this island there's no way to measure it. And funny, that word gratitude, I didn't really learn what that really meant until I had my first child, but it always comes back to where my life brought me. And one of the places is right here in Key Biscayne. And now I have these 2 beautiful daughters, and everything I do that I've been given the opportunity to do, because this isn't just me. It does take a village, and it takes opportunities, and it takes timing, and it takes all of these things to fall into place. And this is exactly why I know that I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. My single biggest motivation is gratitude and what this island has done for me. It's the reason why I've done the foundation, why I've jumped into education, why, and maybe this will be something we talk about in the future, why I've thrown myself into government, into serving. This is just a wonderful place, and I have a lot of beautiful things. And I think one of the questions you ask sometimes to your guests is, "What's your perfect weekend?"
I was about to say.
Yeah. Sorry to steal your thunder there.
No.
for me, the perfect weekend is waking up in the morning and engaging with people like yourself, like we did the day that we had coffee. I walk around this island. I take my kids to the farmer's market. We have our acai bowl. We walk across the street and we watch soccer on a bench while we have our acai bowl, and they catch me up on their week. I make my kids talk to me a lot. We talk a lot. We're chatterboxes. We get on our bike. Maybe me on ice skateboard, although the last couple of times I've eaten it pretty bad. And so I'm trying to get away from the skateboard. I'm not 12 years old anymore. We go to the beach club. We spend time with our friends at the yacht club. We're outside all day. And like, we live in a condo. We don't have a backyard, or I should say we have the best backyard. And so we are condo dwellers. My daughter's always saying, you know, Bobby, I've never lived in a house, but I like where we live. And by the way, my backyard is this beautiful island. And so they're learning gratitude. They're learning things to be grateful for. And my best weekend is just spending time with my friends, my family, and meeting new people every chance I get, which actually was the best part of running for office, was getting the opportunity to do that. It brought me to you in a certain way, Alejandro. And I think that even though you and I spent about a year missing each other, we finally, timing just got us. And we were able to connect. And by the way, I wanted to take just a really brief moment. I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to thank you, because you mentioned something off camera about paying it forward, and you personify that. You're serving, you're doing your own thing, you're working, you're living here, you're giving me the opportunity to speak. And for some of you that don't know Alejandro, I hear that he's at the farmer's market every Saturday. Right. His face is unmistakable. So head out there and just tap him on the shoulder. He'll be happy to talk to you, because that's how him and I got together. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for giving me the opportunity for coming here and talking a little bit about this passion project that we call the Biscayne Children Education Foundation. And if anyone is interested, you can find us on our website, on Instagram. Reach out to me. The emails come directly to me. I respond within hours, if not minutes. I would love to hear from you, and I'm so open for any ideas of any other kind of curriculum that anyone out there would like to try. I'm willing to jump into it and see what the demand is and put it out there and use those funds to get back to the school. So
awesome.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Oscar, thank you for your kind words. It's always great to be able to get these stories out and have neighbors meet neighbors. And it's a lot of fun. I like it. So thank you. Thank you for jumping on the show and telling us all about the foundation. We look forward to engaging again in the future.
Thank you, Alejandro. Have a great day. It's beautiful out there. So get out there as soon as you can.
Will do.
All right. Take care.